A crisis concerning the identity of the legitimate president of Venezuela has been underway since the 10th of January 2019, with the nation and the world divided in support for Nicolas Maduro or Juan Guaido. The process and results of the 20th of May 2018 presidential election were widely disputed. The opposition majority National Assembly declared Maduro a usurper of the presidency on the day of his second inauguration and disclosed a plan to set forth its president Guaido as the succeeding acting president of the country under Article 233 of the Venezuelan Constitution. A week later, the Supreme Tribunal of Justice declared that the presidency of the National Assembly was the usurper of authority and declared the body to be unconstitutional. Minutes after Maduro took the oath as president, the Organization of American States approved a resolution in a special session of its Permanent Council declaring Maduro's presidency illegitimate and urging new elections. Special meetings of the OAS on the 24th of January and in the United Nations Security Council on the 26th of January were held, but no consensus was reached. Secretary-General of the United Nations Antonio Guterres called for dialogue during the 49th General Assembly of the Organization of American States on the 27th of June. Guaido's presidency was recognized by the organization. Guaido declared himself acting president and swore himself in on the 23rd of January. Maduro's government has accused the United States of organizing a coup d'état to remove him and take control of the country's oil reserves. Guaido rejects the characterization of his actions as a coup, saying that his movement is backed by peaceful volunteers. Guaido was recognized as legitimate by about 60 countries, Maduro by about 20 countries. Internationally, support has followed geopolitical lines, with China, Cuba, Iran, Russia, Syria, and Turkey supporting Maduro, while the majority of Western and Latin American countries supported Guaido as acting president. On the 5th of January 2020, the National Assembly Delegated Committee election resulted in claimed victories by both Guaido and legislator Luis Parra as the president of National Assembly, starting another crisis in the legislative body. In addition to the presidential crisis, support for Guaido has declined since a failed military uprising attempt in April 2019. As of January 2020, efforts led by Guaido to create a transitional government have been described as unsuccessful by various analysts and media networks, with Maduro continuing to control Venezuela's state institutions. As of the 6th of January 2021, all members of the European Union stopped recognizing Guaido as president, but the EU still does not recognize Maduro as the legitimate president, threatening with further sanctions. Since 2010, Venezuela has been suffering a socio-economic crisis under Nicolas Maduro and briefly under his predecessor Hugo Chavez, as rampant crime, hyperinflation and shortages diminish the quality of life. As a result of discontent with the government, the opposition was elected to hold the majority in the National Assembly for the first time since 1999 following the 2015 parliamentary election. After the election, the lame duck National Assembly consisting of Bolivarian officials filled the Supreme Tribunal of Justice, the highest court in Venezuela, with Maduro allies. The tribunal stripped 3 opposition lawmakers of their National Assembly seats in early 2016, citing alleged irregularities in their elections, thereby preventing an opposition supermajority which would have been able to challenge President Maduro. In January 2016, the National Assembly declared a health humanitarian crisis, given the serious shortage of medicines, medical supplies and deterioration of humanitarian infrastructure, asking Maduro's government to guarantee immediate access to the list of essential medicines that are basic and indispensable and that must be accessible at all times. The tribunal approved several actions by Maduro and granted him more powers in 2017. As protests mounted against Maduro, he called for a constituent assembly that would draft a new constitution to replace the 1999 Venezuela constitution created under Chavez. Many countries considered these actions a bid by Maduro to stay in power indefinitely, and over 40 countries stated that they would not recognize the 2017 Constituent National Assembly. The Democratic Unity Roundtable, the main opposition to the incumbent ruling party, boycotted the election, saying that the UNC was a trick to keep in power. Since the opposition did not participate in the election, the Great Patriotic Pole Coalition and its supporters, including the incumbent United Socialist Party of Venezuela, won all seats in the assembly by default. On 8 August 2017, the UNC declared itself to be the government branch with supreme power in Venezuela, banning the opposition-led National Assembly from performing actions that would interfere with the assembly while continuing